Let's begin looking at the really good stuff, which is the binomial interest rate model. Really, really important model, especially as we move then into the next reading on callable and puttable bonds. So this is going to use essentially a backward induction methodology, and it's going to assume two states of the world. So let me show you. Let's say right now, my current interest rate is 4%, but I want to introduce some volatility in terms of interest rates in the future. So if I just look at the spot rate curve, the spot rate curve can be used to derive certain forward rates. And based on the unbiased theory, I could say that, let's say, if the forward rate, if the forward rate implied by the spot rate curve is 6%, then in the future, the spot rate will be 6%. However, that is not introducing uncertainty. I want to show that future spot rates can be maybe higher than 6 or maybe lower than 6. So with a binomial model, I'm going to have up and down states of the world. So in the up state of the world, the interest rate will go up. We will denote this as I1 high. And in the down state of the world, the interest rate will go down. So we'll denote this as I1 low. Now, a couple of things you want to understand. First of all, what do we mean by backward induction methodology? Ultimately, guys, we're trying to value a bond, but we know that the bond will mature eventually to pay me face value plus principal. No matter what happens, no matter what path interest rates take, at the end of the day, that is what you get on that bond. So what you can do now is, starting at the end with the value that you know, you can work backwards to discover present values. And that's why we talk about a backward induction methodology when we're using a binomial interest rate model to value a bond. The probabilities here are really nice and easy. It's simply 50% chance of an up move, 50% chance of a down move. Please don't confuse that with the binomial tree that we see in derivatives for valuing stock options. There we need to use risk-neutral probabilities, but here it's a straightforward 50-50. Then I've got this idea that the tree is based on the lognormal random walk. Now this is very important. So they're basically magic number E based on Euler or natural logarithms. The important thing here to remember is the lognormal distribution is bounded by 0 on the left. So immediately you should be telling me, hey, this tree is built in such a way that we should never produce negative interest rates. Yeah, so negative interest rates don't really make economic sense. And fantastic, this tree is not going to give us any negative interest rates. Also, what the tree will do is it will assume a certain yield volatility, let's say 10%, and that yield volatility will be used to derive the various rates in the tree. And I've given you here a little example of the mathematics. You can derive the higher interest rate at node 1 from the lower interest rate at node 1 simply by taking the lower interest rate and multiplying by E to the power of 2 sigma. If, let's say, we have to assume a higher yield volatility, so instead of maybe using 10%, the modeler now wants to use 15% yield volatility, that's going to cause the higher interest rate at time 1 to increase and the lower interest rate at time 1 to decrease. So effectively, it would widen the spread or the uncertainty around the forecasted forward rate at time 1. The tree itself is built via calibration. Now, this is a funky word you're going to be hearing again and again throughout the fixed income reading. So you need to spend a bit of time understanding what calibration is. So think of calibration as fine-tuning or trial and error or seeking the correct value. Yeah. So what we are doing is we are finding out what those interest rates in the tree should be in order for the tree to produce a model price that's equal to the market price. So therefore, whenever you see the word calibration, that word is always going to be associated also with the word arbitrage free. Because when you calibrate the tree, you end up having rates that produce a model price that then agrees with the market price. Therefore, we don't have any arbitrage, right? So we perceive the market price as being correctly priced because the tree was calibrated based on that market price. If you're wondering how to do that, of course, you're not doing trial and error. You're probably using some kind of macro or Excel. And typically, we're going to do this with Solver on Excel.